Hey students, how's everyone doing? I hope all of you are staying home and are doing fabulous. A very warm welcome to the fourth session and the final session of the French Revolution. I know it has been going forever and ever. It's such a long chapter, right? I think even for me, I was like, oh my god, how many sessions am I supposed to take? I mean, it's just never ending. And finally, we're going to complete the chapter today, and I'm so excited for the mentee and the doubt session that is going to be the next, and I hope to see you all over there. But before that, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go and watch all the sessions of the French Revolution if you have not watched it already, so that you get a hang of it. And guys, make sure whichever session you're watching, whatever your doubt is from this chapter, you are putting it in the comment box. Otherwise we won't have questions to discuss in the doubt session, right? And your doubts will also not be clarified, which brings me to the very next and important part that I want to discuss with you guys. But before that, let me quickly introduce myself. Hi guys, I'm Ankana, your social science expert at Vedantu. Hoping that all her bachas are doing absolutely amazing and were looking forward for this session, because I certainly was. Okay, so coming back to the topic where I told you, like, that brings me the way to a very important point of discussion, which is certain problems that has been brought up to my notice by you guys that you are facing, including doubts. Right? So doubts is one of the most prominent issues or problem that has been faced by everyone. Sometimes you're confused whether you should ask me, your school teacher, or who should help you out, or certain questions which are not being answered, which is not there in book, which is maybe out of syllabus and extra information. You're not able to find it. So where to get the answers for those doubts? But that's just not it. I know a lot of people are also confused about how to make notes, where to get notes from that you could refer to. Correct? Am I right or wrong? I know I'm right, because a lot of you have told me, ma'am, where do we get the content from? Right? Then of course exams are approaching. Where do we take tests? Where do we have practice tests? Where do we have assignments that we can focus on, we can practice from? All of this, along with certain issues with the competitive exams, the choice of schedule, and most importantly, choice of language. I think this new channel has somewhat helped us resolve it, but that always remains there, right? Because a lot of content is not so frequently available that you would want to access and go back, that you could look at in your language of, in your preferred language, right? But all of these problems have now been solved for you. We have come up with a solution for all of these issues, guys. And not just these issues, we have brought up a small gift for you as well, wherein you open and you get an additional gift apart from those issues that you had told us about. These are these bonuses that we are offering along with this gift to you. What are these bonuses? So you get to have innumerable unlimited live classes, micro sessions, crash courses, performance reports, live performance reports. We don't have to wait for the doubts and mentee session anymore to assess ourselves on the leaderboard. We can do it on a daily basis in all the classes and all the sessions. And of course, personalized attention, because I know a lot of you long to talk to us right now. You put your issues or problems, whatever, in the comment box. You have to wait for a few days. Somehow there's a gap which can always be resolved, because that is something that all of us really want, right? And where can we resolve this? All you need to do is just go and click on this link. Super easy, right? vdnt.in/ytpro, and you'll be directed to the page where you have to go to this through the simple process when you just have to select your grade, your board, and you will be taken to the page where you can check out all the details all by yourself. You can see it for yourself. You don't have to listen to me and believe me. Go check it out for yourself. I'm sure after that you won't be able to control yourself from hitting that get subscription button. And guys, I think you should definitely do that, because trust me, it's going to create a huge amount of difference. Not that we're not there for you right now, we certainly are, but of course there are certain changes that the shift will be there, which will definitely be very positive and in favor for you. So you'll get multiple options of choosing 1 month, 3 months, 6 month subscription. How long do you want to be with the Vedantu family, a part of Vedantu family with Vedantu Pro? And all of these subscriptions are available with great discounts by using one magic coupon that ma'am will tell you about. Now the bigger amount you go for, the bigger discount you get. That's the most exciting part, right? If you go for 6 months, the longest amount that you can be with the family, and I know the amount is a little high, but the discount is as well. And how do you access this? So as I told you, you're just supposed to go on this link, and guys, don't forget to use the code AKEPRO. All you're supposed to do is, when you click on get subscription, you get an option where you're supposed to apply the code. Make sure you're making a note of this code and are applying this, otherwise you won't get that magic, you won't get that discount, you won't be able to access it. So make sure that you are copying the code AKEPRO, because you're my dear bachas and you definitely deserve something better for that, right? Some reward for that. Okay guys, so the homework question, let's get started with the session. The answer to the homework question was C, citoyen and citoyennes, which means citizens of France, right? And people who have answered this fastest are Dharmendra Bhardwaj, Sumedha Gavane and Anandi Mehta. Congrats my dear students, I'm so proud of you. Bacha, all of you could be here on the leaderboard. All you need to do is answer the questions, homework questions, fastest in the comment box, not just in the live chat, okay? In the comment box, and also make sure that you're liking and subscribing the channel and the video respectively, so that your name appears here and we can talk about it, declare it proudly in this session, right? Chalo, let's move to the index, to the agenda of today's session. So today we are going to talk about women and revolutionary government, the abolition of slavery, the revolution and everyday life, and a dateline that is going to make our life so easy, because a lot of you keep saying, ma'am, let's do mind maps, let's do structured designing of how the flow of the events was. This dateline is going to be very helpful when it comes to that, guys. You can all by yourself make your own mind map for the entire chapter, not just for this particular session. So exciting, isn't it? Do tell me in the comment box. Now guys, if you remember, students, we discussed in the previous session how the condition, what was the condition of the woman, like apart from everything else, where we ended was we were discussing about the condition of the women. What was their involvement, what was the capacity in which they were involved in the revolution, what were their demands, and not just that, what was their condition, and how with the constitution of 1791, which they were very hopeful about and were expecting some equality, some rights, they were just declared as passive citizens in the society. So sad, isn't it? So let's see how their interaction and like what was their condition further on when this revolutionary government came. Now, as I told you in the last session, we discussed about how this revolutionary government came with the constitution of 1791, which the women were very hopeful about and were also expecting some equality, some rights when it came to the suffrage. But they were not given that. In fact, on the contrary, they were kind of declared the passive citizens, which were not even recognized as a complete fulfilled citizen in the country, leave alone the voting rights, right? But the revolutionary government was not also unfair, okay? They did try to do few things in their favor. Although that was not enough, the basic political equality should be given to every citizen that lives in the country. That's the basic thing, that's the most fundamental thing. But let's say that for now, at least something, some contribution of the revolutionary government was done in order to improvise, in order to improve, in order to enhance their standard, to enhance their condition in the society at that time. So what were these things that the government did in order to improve their condition, to improve the women's condition, guys? So bacha, what was done was education was made compulsory. You wouldn't believe there was a time when Jane Austen and Bronte sisters, all these authors and writers were there, where women were not even supposed to read, write, nothing. They used to have a disguised pen name wherein they would have an identity of a male writer, and with that they would write, because those rights were not given to them. So one thing that the government did was that they made education compulsory for these women. Not just that, There used to be a lot of forced marriages where women were not willing to get married to somebody, but they were forced into it because they had no say in front of their family in the society. So that was eliminated, that was stopped for the women with the introduction of a marriage contract, under which it was very important for the women to have her consent in order to be in that contract. It became like a social engagement. Okay, it was only done with the consent and acceptance from the women end. Okay, and this was registered under the civil code, not just a random thing. It became a policy, a law, you could say, that saved and improvised the condition of the women in a great manner, because being in a forced marriage was a punishment for entire life. Now, not just that, Bacha, iske pehle, before this, what used to happen was that women did not have the right to call for divorce. Only men could do that. Now that also changed. Now it was made, divorce was made legal even by wives. Even wives could apply for it and ask for it. And at the end, they were also trained for jobs. Now if you remember, when we were discussing the condition of women, we were discussing that women were doing all these trivial or low standard kind of jobs of being domestic help, of laborers and all these things, because they were not trained, because they were not educated. So now they were getting education as well as they were getting training for jobs. They were being skilled and equipped with different kinds of knowledges, which was developing them professionally as well. And because of that, now they could be artists, they could run small businesses, which means their condition was being elevated from those low scale jobs to something much better. Something the government did, which was at least improvising their, maybe not giving them complete equal political rights, but improvising their condition in the society, helping them have their own identity. Much better, right? But this happiness did not last for very long for women. Women have had such a history of struggle right from the beginning. We do not say that we are a part of a patriarchal society just like that. The struggle has been so long, and it's still going on, that it's sad and heartbreaking. So as I was telling you, that after this revolutionary government came the reign of terror. If you remember, quickly tell me in the comment box, people, who was responsible for the reign of terror. I will anyways discuss this, but do tell me in the comment box if you remember the whole name of this person. Okay, so coming back to the reign of terror, if you remember, it was under Robespierre, right? The Jacobin, the head of the Jacobin club, who now was, during the Jacobin government was taking care of everything, was the new ruler of the country. Now this guy, if you remember people, was very radical, right? He was an extremist. He was obsessed with the idea of having absolute control. But that was not just the problem. If you also remember, when the Jacobin government came, people were hoping some kind of equality, because they were the victims of this unfairness of the society, of this biasness, of this differentiation. But they did nothing in favor of women. In fact, women in their own clubs were not even allowed to wear those red caps, which were a symbol of freedom, which were a symbol of liberalization. And this guy has now become the ruler, so obviously the women were going to suffer again. So all of these improvements that were done were kind of shut down again. All the clubs, all the political clubs which the women were forming to fight for their freedom were closed down. Robespierre closed down everything in order to keep a control on the liberalization of women as well. They were banned from all political activities. Not just that, there were a lot of prominent figures for women also. Naturally, when there would be leaders, when there would be protests, there would be few figures who would be leading everyone, right? Who everyone would be inspired by, who would follow. Who would be followed by everybody. So there were such prominent figures among women also. These people were arrested, and not just that, most of them were even executed. They were not even let to live under Robespierre. So sad, right? A person who's talking about all of this, liberalization, freedom and equality, is limiting the women, another gender created by nature itself. Sad, right? But the fight for the suffrage of women did not stop. It continued, and you would not believe it continued for 200 years. And guys, although we are right now talking about this fight only in France, but it was going around all over the world. Every part of the world, women were not given the right to vote. Sad, but that is the truth. In fact, there's one country where the right to vote was not given until very, very recent. Do tell me, find this out. It's a very interesting fact. It is somewhere near our country, somewhere in the Middle East. I'm giving you this hint. Find out which country has most recently given the right to vote to their women, which was earlier not given to them. And do comment it and do put your answers in the comment box. I will check it out. Okay. So coming back to the fight for the struggle for suffrage. So this was going all around the world, not just in France, throughout the 19th and the early 20th century. Now this entire movement that was going on was known as international suffrage movement. Okay, women were fighting for it everywhere. Not that it all was started together and was going parallelly and simultaneous in every part of the world. It was it was happening every now and then, everywhere, here and there. It kept on happening, and this together was known as international suffrage movement, where every woman was fighting for her right to vote, for an equal political right, for political equality, right? Okay, now imagine the fight somewhere started, the fight started somewhere in 1791. In fact, before that, they were hoping for it to be substantiated, fulfilled, the conditions, the challenges to be fulfilled, overtaken in 1791. But right from that year, they finally became victorious, finally got their authority to, right to vote in 1946. That too in France. A lot of places that did not happen. As I told you, you're supposed to find this country in Middle East, which gave the right to vote to their women very, very recently. So sad, right? Chalo, it's okay. Now we can't do anything about this. But there was something even more worse than that. Women were maybe not given equal political right, but were at least being treated as humans. There was another sect of the society, another segment of the society which was not even being treated humanly. They were facing the most inhuman treatment possible, the most brutal, ruthless kind of suppression and oppression by the most powerful sector of the society, because they belong to the weaker sectors. And who were these people, guys? So basically, now let's talk about what was happening in the other parts. So Europe was dependent on, so let me start from the beginning. Actually, even I got a little confused how I wanted to say. So now we're going to talk about certain colonies. If you remember, during this period, all these European countries were forming colonies in different parts of the world. Now, what do we mean by colonies, Bacha? Colonies is nothing else but setting and establishing a center of control and oppression in different parts. And why were they doing it? They were doing it to control and dominate the government, the people, to exploit the resources, the people, everything. They were establishing their control for their upliftment, for their economical growth and interest. All for that. Like Britishers did here in India. There were colonies in America also, although they got free under Louis XVI, right? It was happening every here and there. And similarly, it happened in the colonies near Caribbean Sea also. Now these European countries were only establishing their colonies in places which were very resourceful, which had some kind of resources, minerals, something which was very enriching, which would boost their economy, right? And similarly, there was this colony which was established in the Caribbean Sea near that area. Why? Because this area, like Martinique, Guadeloupe or San Domingo, all these areas were very rich and had the suppliers of commodities such as tobacco, indigo, sugar, coffee, all these plantations, resources gifted by nature, very rich in that. And the entire Europe kind of dependent on this. Okay, it was kind of dependent on this. Now they wanted all of that stuff from there, but they did not want to go there and work, because it was somewhere remote in an area which was not developed, and nobody would want to leave their home, would want to live their luxuries, want to live anything and go in a place like that and work hard labor. Nobody wanted that. And these people were already very superior. They had this feeling that there's these superior people, so they refused to do that. Nobody was ready to go so far away from home. Naturally, they want everything from there, but nobody is ready to work there. What will this lead to? Shortage of labor. There was no one to work over there. Then how will the production happen? Now that would fail their entire plan of establishing control and to become economically very, very dominant on the entire world. As a result of this, they found out the weaker section of the society which they could have exploited and made to work for them. And this is how the slavery started. Very sad. So now this entire slave trade started between three countries, okay, between Europe, Africa and America, okay, and there was a triangular slave trade happening over here. You might have heard about apartheid in America. Similarly, Europe was also trading slaves, okay. It is so sad, like commodities, like certain services and goods, people were being sold. The human life had become so trivial. It was being taken for, so granted. And this began in the 17th century itself, guys. Okay, and you know what happened, like how it started. So people in Africa were very poor. They had, their condition was really sad and bad. And now they were not aware, no education, no money, so much of resources, right? Another reason for the place to be exploited. Now these people had their colonies over there and human lives were in abundance, but they had nothing to survive. So they were looking for job opportunities, and that is what these guys took advantage of and exploited them to the level which was equivalent to an animal. Even people don't treat animals like that. Human life was degraded to a level which would break our hearts if we go and look at the condition that they were facing. It's very heartbreaking. Okay, so what happened was these people were being suppressed, oppressed, exploited by all these powerful traders, merchants, very rich people who could buy and sell them for anything and was so powerful that would not listen or care for even their lives, would not even bother to consider that they were humans. Sad, so insensitive, right? So now it started this place over here. Now what happened was that from the ports of Bordeaux or Nantes, ships used to go to African coasts. Okay, now these ships that used to go to African coasts would load these people, would load these slaves, these people who were forced from there. If you remember, colonies were there also, right? Now these people who were deployed there, you can say from Europe or America also, would push these people, pick them from these African colonies and shackle them and brand them. You know, they were even they had stamps put on their hand. They had like tattoos, permanent tattoos, which would brand them as slaves put on their bodies. They were branded like you are a slave. Like how animals we make dogs wear tags, such kind of tags were given to them. So you can imagine what their condition was, and they were shackled, they were put in chains, and then they were put in these ships that were going to the African coasts, and they were like jam packed. There was not even proper spaces for them to sit, and these voyages used to be as long as 3 months, and for all these 3 months they used to sit in that condition, you know, where it was even difficult to breathe. They used to survive in that condition, and then once they would get down on these ports in Europe or America, they were then sold to the plantation owners, to the traders, to the merchants who were so powerful. They would buy them and they would make them work as bonded laborers, guys. Okay, and they would exploit them to meet all their growths and demand everything that they wanted to do. They would push them to any level. They were not fed properly, they were not let to live properly in a good condition, they were not even let to sleep at times. They had to continuously keep working under all of these brutal and ruthless conditions. Now I can't even imagine how people used to survive at that time. It was equivalent to dying every day. And you can say that all of these European markets, all that wealth, all that economy that they have boosted, that got boosted at that time because of sugar, coffee, indigo, everything was at the cost of the lives of these people. So sad, right? But finally in 1794, when Jacobean regime came, at least something good that they did, right? Maybe not for women, for slaves. They ended the slavery system. They said not just for the people of Europe, we are going to free liberalize everyone that is there in Europe, including these African slaves. And that is what the breaking of the chain symbolized. Okay, and all these French, I mean, like all these people from overseas who were there as slaves were freed under something good that the Jacobin regime did. That is it. But that was not for very long, only for 1 decade. After that, Napoleon came, he reintroduced, he destroyed the republic status of the France, he destroyed the free slaves of, like that status of the France as well. He reintroduced slavery later when he came into power. So you can imagine 1794, right from there, and it was already happening. 1794 it broke. After a decade it got reintroduced again by Napoleon, and finally in 1848 the slavery was abolished and people got freedom. Okay, then came the revolution and everyday life. So bacha, when revolution is going on, okay, when anything, war, revolution, some kind of disturbance, some kind of boon, anything that is going around in the society affects each and every person in one way or the other. For example, right now this epidemic is going on. It has started somewhere but is affecting each and every life of that country which is affected by it. The same thing happened in France as well. You know, these revolution, the sense of nationalism, the sense of revolution, the sense of demand for nation state led to a certain change which was very permanent and prominent in the society on a daily basis, on every day, to each and every common man. And what were these changes? So the ask and the practice of liberty and equality in daily life. Now everyone had started talking about liberty and equality, and they wanted to practice it on a daily basis. It's not like you could dominate or suppress anyone like today or tomorrow. No, it was something that they wanted every day. Then of course abolition of censorship. What was censorship? It was basically limitation on freedom of expression, of life. All those things was abolished. It was gone. Declaration of rights of man and citizen, something like our fundamental rights, right? The fundamental rights was given to them, and that's what they demanded. They proclaimed freedom of speech and expression of natural right, which should be given to anybody as a human, as a citizen of any nation. Then of course freedom of press, that was taken away. If you remember, under the monarchy, people were not given the right to talk about anything that they wanted to. People were not given the right to express anything, but all of that was restored again. They were given the freedom to press. They could put any views that was opposing the ruler, the government, the people, the society, everything. That even gave the rights to the philosophers at that time, right? Who could profess everything that they wanted and spread their messages. We have read about a lot of philosophers. Do tell me at least 2 of them in the comment box. I would love to check out your answers after the video. Make sure guys you're putting your answers in the comment box. Any 2 philosophers that you remember, it would be great if you could also tell me about their philosophies. And then of course, if you remember, romanticism, right? So plays, songs, festive processions attracted large number of people. That had also started coming in 1789. These were the changes which was brought into the lives of the people. Okay, so this is what revolution did to the society, to the people in general. Okay, now let's finally look at that date line which will help us do the mind mapping of the entire French Revolution. Bacha, make sure you're taking a you're noting this down, or you're taking a screenshot of this, or maybe downloading this from wherever, downloading the video or the notes, whatever that helps you. This is going to be very, very easy for us to memorize and recall everything, the whole flow, and will make it the task of reconnecting very easy, and the whole information will become very relevant for us. So right from 1774, where Louis XVI became the king of France, till 1946, where the women finally attained their right to vote in France, the whole timeline has been explained over here. So it started with Louis XVI becoming the king. Then in 1789, how the convocation of Estates General and Third Estate forms National Assembly. Then how in 1791 a constitution is framed by the revolutionary government. Then from 92 to 93, that part was where France became a republic, and the king Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette were beheaded, and that was symbolizing the beheading of monarchy also. And then in 1993 and 94, Jacobean regime started, which was a reign of terror by Robespierre. 1804, where Napoleon became the emperor of France and put the republic, again destroyed the republic and also restored slavery. Then in 1815, Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo. You'll get to read about this very soon in more detail in the next class. Then in 1848, abolition of slavery happened, and finally in 1946, the women were able to achieve their right, which they had been fighting for 200 years long. And with this, we come to the end of the French Revolution. Guys, make sure that if you have any question, any doubts, you're putting it in the comment box so that I'm able to address it in the doubt session. If you have not watched the previous sessions and you're not able to make sense of it, make sure that you're going back and watching all the previous sessions and then putting your doubts in the comment section so that we can resolve it. Now coming to the final homework question of the session, guys. Slavery was abolished in French colonies in which year? 1804, 1848, 1849 or 1946? Make sure you're answering the question in the comment box, not just in the live chat. If you want to see your name in the leaderboard, on the leaderboard, right? If you think this session was helpful to you, you know the drill. You just have to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing the you're subscribing the channel so that when we come with the doubt and the Menti quiz, you are able to get the notification very quickly. Okay, and I will see you guys in the next session. Till then, stay home, take care, stay safe, and be good, guys. Enjoy yourselves. Bye bye.